fair use, copyright 1976. Fair use.
You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours, telling all the bluebirds, the bill and coo birds, pretty little baby. You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours, telling all the bluebirds, the bill and coo birds, pretty little baby. You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours, telling all the bluebirds, the bill and coo birds, pretty little baby. We in the field. Two-Face, it's a UFO for real. Oh, we not making this shit up. Look at her, she gonna put. It's a UFO for real, y'all. That is crazy. Y'all, that's crazy. It's a UFO for real, y'all. You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours, telling all the bluebirds, the bill and coo birds, pretty little baby.
I like to give all praises and glory to Almighty Yahweh Yahushai. I like to give all praises and glory to Almighty Yahweh Yahushai. Double honors to the men of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is Brother Boaz on the set once again. UFOs, okay, the eve of their destruction, okay. When you start seeing these crafts and they appear more and more, okay, they're going to eradicate this place, okay. And if you want to make it out with your life when this thing goes down, you best to call upon the name of Yahweh Yahushai so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down, okay. This thing is going down. You have to call upon the name of Yahweh Yahushai when this, so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Yahweh, power of heaven, you are great, and we stand in fear of you. You faithfully keep your covenant with those who love you and do what you command, okay? So you need to stand in fear of Yahweh Yahushai, okay? When you start seeing these UFO, these crafts, that's the eve of this man's destruction, okay? The government have to come out with it, okay? They can't keep it a secret no more. Before, you used to be a quack, okay? Now the UFOs are showing up more and more, these flying saucers, okay? That's how we're going to be saved and sanctioned to be saved. And that's how this place is going to be sanctioned to be destroyed, okay? You have to be beamed it up on a craft so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. And now that takes faith, okay? You have to have faith to believe that, okay? Because no one ever seen someone get beamed it up on a craft, okay? But that takes great faith that you believe and not doubt. The book of Second Maccabees, chapter 5, verse 1. About the same time, Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt, and then it happened that through all the city for the space of almost 40 days, there was seen horsemen running in the air, okay, UFOs, okay, UFOs in the air, clothed in gold and arrayed in armor and lances like a band of soldiers. And a troop horseman is arrayed encounters and running one against another with shaking of shields and multitudes of spikes and drawing of swords and casting darts, glittering of golden ornaments and harness of all sorts, where all men prayed that their appeals might turn to good. Okay, so they was praying that this thing turn out to good. Okay, this thing is going down, and you have to have the posture and the integrity so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. That's what this is about. Okay, that's what this is about. So you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. Okay. The UFOs is a sign of the destruction. And it's our deliverance. The Book of Revelations. The Book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 11. And after 3.5 days, a life-giving breath came from Yahweh and entered them, and they stood up, and all who saw them were terrified. Then the two prophets heard a loud voice to them from heaven, "Come up here." As their enemies watched, they went up into heaven in a cloud. Okay, UFOs. Okay, this is the eve of this mass destruction. Okay, that's how this place is going to get eradicated. Okay, so you want to make it out with your life when this thing goes down. You got to call upon the names of Yahweh, Yahushua, so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. Okay, so you can have your life when this thing goes down. Okay, you gotta call upon the names of Almighty Yahweh, Yahushua. That's what this is all about. The book of Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no count of his labor. When they see it, they shall be in trouble and with terrible fear, and they shall be at the strangeness of his salvation so far beyond what they look for. Okay, so the strangeness of his salvation, what is that? UFOs. Okay, UFOs. Okay, I got another video I'd like to show you. Fair use, copyright 1976. Okay, this thing is going down. I got another video.
You know what I'm saying, bro? But it is. You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours. You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours. Telling all the bluebirds, the bill and coo birds, pretty little baby. You can ask the flowers. I sit for hours. Telling all the bluebirds, the bill and coo birds, pretty little baby.
This thing is going down. Okay, those are clearly some UFOs, some wheels inside wheels. Those are some clearly some UFOs, wheels inside wheels. Okay. Okay, those are UFOs, wheels inside wheels. Okay, and that's how we're going to be sanctioned to be saved out of here. Okay, Yahushua and some wills, okay? That's what this is about. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 15. And I saw and I looked at four creatures. I saw four wheels touching the ground, one beside each of them. All four wheels were alike, each one showed like a precious stone, and each had another wheel intersecting a right angle, so that the wheels could move in any of the four directions. The rims of the wheels were covered with eyes. That's the windows of it. Okay, the wheels were covered with eyes. Okay, that's a wheel. That's the that's the windows of it. Okay, and the lights that's coming off these crafts. Okay, this man fucked up on this one. Okay, he's going to be eradicated when these crafts. They don't have nothing to go against these crafts. Okay, they try to fight against these crafts. These crafts, they always outmaneuver these F-15, F-16s. Okay, they don't have nothing for these crafts. Okay, this man fucked up on this one. Okay, if you want to make it out of here with your life when this thing goes down, you have to call upon the name of Yahweh Yahushai so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 19. Whatever the living creatures move, the wheels move with them. And if the creatures rose from the earth, so did the wheels. The creatures went wherever they wish, and the wheels did exactly what the creatures did because the creatures were controlling them. So every time the creatures moved or stopped or rose in the air, the wheels did exactly the same. Okay, so whatever these crafts went, the pilot was controlling these crafts. Okay, this place is destined sanctioned to be destroyed. Okay, this place is sanctioned to be destroyed. And when Yahweh Shai gets here, he's going to eradicate this place, okay? The book of 2nd Ezra, 13, verse 1. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong for the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that they were underneath him. Okay, that's talking about a big giant UFO. Okay, a planet-sized UFO. Okay, and they got to fight against this thing. Can you imagine that? A big giant UFO like a planet, and they got to fight against that. All nations are going to link up. Okay, how are you going to fight against something like that? A big giant UFO like a like a planet-sized UFO. Okay, you got to fight against something like that. Verse 4, and whatever the voice turned and went, his mouth, all they burned them. His voice was like the earth fills with when it fills a fire. All after them beheld, lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven, trying to subdue the man that came out of the sea, okay, from outer space, okay. They're going to try to subdue the man. That's why it says over here, okay, out of space. This man's going to, Yahweh Shai is going to come out of space and eradicate this place, okay? And if you don't want to be eradicated, and if you want your life, okay, if you value your life, you'll come back into Yahweh Shai while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open, okay? So you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. That's what this is about. The book of Luke. The book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 26. People will faint from fear as they wait for what is coming upon the whole earth. For the power of space will be driven out of its course. So this coming out of space, okay? These UFOs are coming out of space, okay? And they're gonna eradicate this place, okay? This place is sanctioned to be destroyed, okay? That's why you have to come back into Yahweh Shai while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open, okay? And stop messing around and playing with your life when this thing goes down. Stop playing with your life and come back into Yahweh Shai while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open. Verse 6, the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 6. But I beheld, and lo, he grave upon him a great mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. So Ezra was trying to see what mountain is that this UFO was carved out of. Okay, that's how big and giant this craft is. Okay, you're gonna urinate on yourself. Okay, you're gonna drop dead when you see it. When you see this big giant craft coming out of space, okay, it eradicated the people of the armies. You're gonna be shocked in that day. The book of Yoel. The book of Yoel, chapter 3, verse 12. The nations must get ready and come to the valley of judgment. There I will judge, Yahweh will sit to judge all the surrounding nations. Verse 14, thousands and thousands are in the valley of judgment. It is there that the day of Yahweh will come soon, okay? And that's the day of Yahweh is when the so-called white man falls out of power and rulership, okay? When the so-called white man falls out of power and rulership. That's what this is about, okay? And calling upon the name. So you have to call upon the name of Yahweh Shai so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. Okay, verse 8, the 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, they which were gathered together to subdue him with the right, with sore afraid, and yet there's fight, okay? They was afraid, okay? Because you imagine you have to fight against a UFO, okay? You up in this little aircraft, you got to fight something big as a planet. Independence Day don't even do it no justice. That's how big it is, okay? This big giant craft, okay? You got to fight against this thing, okay? This thing is going down, okay? That's why the fear of Yahweh Shai, we persuade men, okay? That's why the fear of Yahweh Shai, we persuade men. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude, they came neither lifted up his hand, nor his sword, or any instrument of war, but only I saw he sent out of his mouth as if it was a blast of fire. Out of his lips was a burning breath, and out of his tongue he casted out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flame of breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight, and buried them, and every one of them, and so that upon a sudden of a multitude, not now nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smells of smoke. I saw this and I was afraid. Okay, so Yahweh eradicated them. Okay, he sent out a laser beam out of this giant UFO, not a regular laser beam. Okay, a divine supernatural laser beam shot out this UFO. Okay, and it eradicated them. Okay. This thing is going down, okay? That's why you have to come back into the name of Yahweh Yahushai while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open. This thing is going down, okay? This devil is going to go for his RFID chip. And when he goes for that, that's going to trigger these UFOs, okay? And they're going to come down here and eradicate this place, okay? And destroy it, okay? That's what this is about. Okay, they're gonna come down here and eradicate this place, okay, and destroy it, okay. You better call upon the name of Yahweh Yahushua while you still can. The book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 20. Go into your houses, my people, and shut the door behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the anger of Yahweh is over. The Yahweh is coming from the place, from his heavenly dwelling place, to punish the people of the earth with their sins. The murderers that were secretly committed on earth will no longer of earth will be revealed, and the ground will no longer hide those who have been killed. Okay, that's what this is about. Okay, coming into Yahweh Yahushai while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open. Okay, coming into Yahweh Yahushai. Okay. And so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down, okay? That's what this is all about, okay? The book of Isaiah 66, verse 15. Yahweh will come with fire. He will ride on the wings of the storm to punish those that he is angry with. By fire and sword, he will punish all the people of the world from he finds guilty, and many will be put to death. Okay, many will be put to death. Okay, that's what this is about. Many people is going to get put to death, okay? That's why you once again come back into Yahweh Yahushai while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open, okay? Come back into who you are, your nationality, and who you are while you still can, okay? While the doors of mercy are still open. The book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 10. Okay. Let's start at verse 7. The book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 7. Then the earth trembled and shook, the foundations of the mountains, rocks, and quivered, because Yahweh was angry. Smoke poured out of his nostrils, a consuming fire and burning coals from his mouth. He tore the sky open and came down with the dark clouds under his feet. That's how this big giant UFO is going to come in, dark clouds, and the big giant UFO is going to rip open the sky, okay? Tear open the atmosphere, okay? This so-called white man fucked up on this one, okay? He didn't think things through on this one, okay? This man's going to get eradicated, okay? Yahushua is going to eradicate this place, okay? That's why he's giving you ample amounts of time to come back into him, is why you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open, okay? He's giving you ample amounts of time. Verse 10, he flew swiftly on his winged creature. He traveled on the wings of the wind. He covered himself with darkness. Thick clouds full of water surrounded him. Hailstones and flashes of light fire came from the lightning before him and broke through the clouds of darkness. Okay, broke through the dark clouds. Then Yahweh thundered from the sky, and the voice of the Most High was heard. Okay. You're dealing with a demonic like power, okay? You're dealing with a demonic like power, okay? Okay? That's what you're dealing with. The book of Exodus, the book of Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 10. But only I saw went out of his mouth, it was a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were mixed together, the blast of fire, the flame of breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude of, and was prepared to fight and burn them up, every one of them, upon a sudden innumerable multitude. Nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smells of smoke. Then I saw this, I was afraid. After I saw the same man come down from the mountain and called unto him another peaceable multitude, and they came much people unto him. Therefore some were glad, some were sorry, some were bound, and others some brought of them that were offered, and there was, and then I sick through great fear, and I awoke and said, Thou hast showed thy servants these wonders from the beginning, and have said, counting me worthy that I should receive my prayer. Okay. So Yahushua got off this plane. These people were bound, okay, put into slavery, eradicated. Some were glad, that's the elect. Some was happy, some was sad, okay. Who's sad? The ones that had to get put into slavery, okay. Yahushua's coming to put these people into slavery, okay, and eradicate this place, okay. That's why you have to just be patient and keep calling upon the name of Yahweh, Yahushua, so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. Be patient. Call upon the name of Yahweh, Yahushua, while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open. The book of Exodus, chapter 24, verse 9. Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 other leaders of Israel went up the mountain, and they saw the power of heaven beneath his feet, what looked like a pavement of sapphire, as blue as the sky. Yahweh did not harm these leaders, the leading men of Israel. They saw Yahweh, and then they ate and they drank. Verse 15, the book of Exodus, chapter 24, verse 15. Moses went up the Mount Sinai as a cloud covered it. Yahweh's dazzling light of Yahweh presented came down on the mountain to the Israelites. The light looked like a fire burning on top of the mountain. The clouds covered the mountain and for 6 days, and all the seventh day Yahweh called to Moses from the cloud. Moses went up the mountain unto the cloud. There he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights. So I want you to get out this scripture, the dazzling light of Yahweh, okay? Big giant craft, what the lights are coming off of is saying, okay? It's a big giant craft, okay? This man fucked up on this one, okay? He's not gonna win this war, okay? He's not going to win this war, okay? This man's fucked up on this one, okay? The book of Zechariah chapter 14 verse 3. Then Yahweh will go out and fight against those nations as he has fought against in times past. At that time, he will stand on the mountain Olives into the east of Jerusalem. Then the Mount Olives will be split into two, east to west, a large valley. Half of the mountain will move northwards, and half of it southwards. So Yahweh is going to split with this UFO. The mountains is going to split in half. Okay, could you imagine a great power that is? Okay. That's why when they fight, they're gonna be so afraid and scared. Okay, when they try to fight against Yahweh Shai, okay, they're gonna be scared in that day. Okay, because you got to fight against this enormous, great UFO. Okay, and there's nothing you could do. Okay, you're gonna have to try to fight against Yahweh Shai and get eradicated. Okay, and get destroyed. Okay. When you hear Yahweh Shai, and then he gonna be up there laughing, ho 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 ho. Okay, you're gonna be scared in that day. Okay, all the earth is gonna be scared. We're gonna be scared in that day. Okay, you have to meet the king of death. Okay, that's what this is about. Okay, and he took many captives. The book of Psalm 68, verse 17. With his many thousands of mighty chariots, Yahweh comes from Sinai into the holy place. Okay, UFOs. Okay, Yahweh comes out of his place with his many thousand of chariots. Verse 18, he goes up to the heights, taking many captives with him. He received gifts from rebellious people. Yahweh will live there, okay? Our Lord's going to live in Jerusalem, okay? This thing is going down, okay? And I'll leave you with this. The book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 14. It was Enoch, the seventh direct descendant from Adam, who long ago prophesied this to them. Yahweh will come with many thousand of his holy angels to bring judgment on all to condemn them all for the godless deeds they have performed and for all the terrible words that the godly sinner has spoken against him. Hopefully you was edified. I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Almighty Yahweh Shai. Shalom.